Okay, good morning. All right. I'll get the chat thing up. You can hear me all right, yeah? Just double checking. You can hear me. Yay. Well, that's a mighty fine start then, isn't it? All right, cool. So, what was the data that came out? There was, bloody hell, it's just escaped me. Was it CPI that came out last night? In the US? There was something. I can't remember exactly what it was. It has escaped me. Yeah, it's escaped me. Anyway, PPI. There you go. I knew it was one of the I's. And obviously, the markets responded. If you look over here, I look at the S&P from time to time. Well, because, it's had a pullback as well. Of course, nothing like Bitcoin's pullback, but, Bitcoin is the canary in the coal mine when it comes to liquidity and fear and euphoria. It's definitely a big swinging pendulum compared to the S&P 500. And I look at this chart, and it pulled back into the weekly cradle zone. First, let's be real here. It's not a huge pullback. It's a considerable pullback on the S&P 500. But let's look at this. What we saw over here, when was that? That was through March. We saw a significant decline on the ES, which is the S&P. That's in stock market world. I think it's a 20% drawdown is considered a bear market. I think a lot of things have changed, and we've had a straight line run from there. It got really wild down here. And we've just gone straight lining. This is the first actual pullback. Yeah, we had a single candle over here that went down 2.4%. But this is the first this is the first pullback into the cradle zone. Now, all of this is going on without that liquidity in the market, with the tightening. I hear people say that, it's overextended, all this, and it is a little bit extended on a monthly, but it's not massive. There's room for it to keep going with what's going on. Now, I only look at this because I want to see. I do think that Bitcoin is changing. At this stage, sorry, let me try that again. My position right now is that the 4-year cycle of Bitcoin, aside from the halving cycle, which is set in stone, it's become less significant because of the way Bitcoin has been adopted into the financial world, into the world itself. The cat's out of the bag now. It ain't going to zero. It's a real thing. It's a real thing that I still don't think Bitcoin has had its .com moment. I think it's coming. And when I look at this market here, yes, it has had a strong run. It has been a very good year. Actually, let's have a look. Where's January here? So we opened the year. Opened the year at 5.9. Roughly there. It's up 14% in the year. Now, that's not crazy bananas over the top type stuff. Last year, let's have a look at last year. Where's January here? There, opened here and closed here, 23 with a high of 28. It's had a big pullback. It's in its next move, and it's looking pretty good. Of course, the last 4 days have been much, much stronger. The weekly, more importantly for me, this is what I'm looking at, is that we had a first pullback and a move. Now, does this correlate to Bitcoin? I don't know. I'm just looking at this and talking to what I'm looking at here on the S&P and how the information that's come out and what's going on in the background with QT ending December 1st, which is less than a week away now, how the market is responding. After a pullback, it has come back rather strong this week, up 3%. Gold had a good move as well overnight, up 3.6%. Silver and Bitcoin are probably more related than gold and Bitcoin because silver is the more volatile. Gold was up a little bit as well. It was up, well, not a little bit, so it gapped up and it was up 1.7% there. So that's all sweet. And Bitcoin dominating at 3.6%. This is what we talk about. It is the canary in the coal mine, and it is the one that moves the most. It's the most volatile of the asset classes, no doubt about it. So we got 3.5% up, and we're back above 90,000 on Bitcoin, which is right around the area I would like to be. Now, a couple of things before I go and do this full scan. I am not saying, oh, the bottom is in. I am not that sort of a person. I don't care if the bottom is in. I'd like it to be in. I don't care if the top is in. I would like it to not be in. My goal as a trader is to trade the direction. So I'm going to look at this here. This daily trend is still in a wonderful downtrend. It has had a very extended move. And to see a pullback of, what, maybe 12%, something like that now? What is it? Bang on. A 12% pullback, and we're just starting to get into the cradle zone. I think we can go higher, but we can still have, if we push higher and get a bearish candle in here, we've got to be aware of that. We've got to be on top of that. And this is the thing. I think we will start to see potentially some lower time frame trends that are workable. Yesterday, the 4 hour was a time frame that I said, look, if we get another leg up, we'll start to have some extension of those trends, get us some cyclicity, and we'll be able to look for some longs. And I'm more than happy to stick to that. I will, however, be keeping an eye on the daily. Excuse me. And I am not in a place where I'm looking for runners at all. I am looking for one-to-one, and it leans into that even more looking at this daily. As the daily comes more into the cradle zone, the potential for a bearish candle in here for a short opens up. I'm not looking for a big runner to get me back up to, I'm not trying to take anything back. I'm just going to stick with the one-to-ones and look to take profits quickly as we pull back into this cradle zone. Now, another thing I want to suggest, or I want to bring to your attention is this. What we've got, look, the best case scenario for me is maybe another decent day pulling back in a bit further, giving us some long trades, yada yada. But let's just talk to the daily chart for a second. Best case scenario for me is for a trend reversal. Okay, a good looking trend reversal, a significant looking trend reversal. Now, what that's going to require is more than likely, it's going to happen somewhere between 94 and where we are. Now, that's going to mean that we're going to fall. We're going to pull back, and we're probably going to pull back from that cradle zone. Now, if I get a really good short on the daily, once again, I will be looking for one-to-one target, okay? Because if I am to get, and look, I'm sticking to one-to-ones for the time being. I just am. I'm happy to do that. I've got a good probability of one-to-ones, and it suits me for the time being. I'll let you know when I think conditions have shifted enough. I think we need a little bit more information into the market. I think we need a little bit more certainty, and once we've got that, potentially we can start to look for some bigger moves. On the flip side of that, if we don't get that certainty and we don't get that commitment from the market, then I will potentially go and look for longer, look for runners to the downside. But for the time being, I'm very comfortable sticking with one-to-one. So what we need to see is we need to see it come up in maybe where we are here. It could start from here. It could move a little bit further. But eventually we're going to get a higher low. We're going to get some selling. Sorry, I shouldn't say eventually we're going to get a higher low. Eventually we'll get some selling if I am to get the perfect case scenario, which would be a higher low on the daily pushing to a higher high, resetting therefore that daily trend, and that would bring me a bit more optimism that the market might be in a recovery stage. At the moment we're in a downtrend, we're pulling back into the cradle zone, and I will short a daily if I get it. But don't forget, if we do start to see some selling in here, it is going to probably get messy out there, and in the sense that the emotional, it's easy to not be as emotional or to feel a bit happier today because we're up 3.5%. I mean, fair play too. Like, take a breather. We've just been beaten with a stick for the space of 2 weeks, 3 weeks even. But this was particularly brutal. Okay, to get this little bounce here does feel nice, yes, but do not let that nice feeling take away from the realities of what this chart is doing. It is downtrending very, very nicely. So I'm just going to lock in, trade what I see. Look for one-to-ones, and just remind yourself, for those that are holding portfolios such as myself, that if we do start to see some selling, it is not the sky falling. Your mood should not be attached to the market. Okay, so there you go. I think we're ready now to have a look at what is out there. If we look first of all at Bitcoin, I spoke to this level yesterday in that video I posted. We got a higher low now. I was actually keeping an eye on this down on these, I think it was the 1 hour at the time over here. Yeah. There was a bee's dick break there. I was kind of seeing if we get a third test. Obviously, we didn't. But what it did signal is this. There's a higher low to a higher high, and it took out this one as well. Now, it happened very, very drastically. It happened very quickly in a single 1 hour candle. We were up 2.3%, and that's all good to go. Now, it has happened so quickly, and this is what might take away a little bit of that cyclicity for us. We might need to wait for things to calm down a little bit, because I suspect if Bitcoin pumped like that, most of the market probably also put in a lot of those gains in a very short space of time. So let's go ahead and have a look at what we've got available to us and see what's moving and what's got some cyclicity. And again, oh, excuse me, again, you got what you're going to notice as I go through this whole scam is you are going to see a lot that look like this, a lot that are just in roaring downtrends. Don't let hopium get in the way of trading what the market provides. Yesterday as well, the dusk. Now, I know I put that up. I was running around with the kids at that stage. I don't know. Look, I would have tried to raise an order, no doubt. It was a good-looking trade. And it had been stalked all day. Was there much liquidity there? I know some of you said that it was rather thin. Bonk, I didn't end up raising an order on Bonk. I don't think it triggered anyway. No, look at the low there, 9374, 9382. So you wouldn't have got filled there. It just ended up coming a little bit big. So I'm gonna take that out now. It's interesting. Bitcoin, I mean, look, obviously there are some decent moves in here, but Bitcoin, there's equally some decent down moves. Bitcoin dominance has increased today. Bitcoin obviously having a stronger rally than a lot of others. And I guess it probably comes down to the fact that a lot of that selling was just on Bitcoin. That couple of weeks, it was particularly brutal on Bitcoin. It wasn't brutal for everything. It was very brutal for Bitcoin. I'm also very open. You'll see me looking for levels. I'm open to breakouts. I just need to have good breakouts, good levels, good opportunities. Oh, hang on, what's that? No, that's so divergent. I saw that bearish share. Look how divergent that is. I'm leaving that. Very slow. We've got a higher low here and then another one here, then a pop. It's just a little bit. Had we have pulled into here and gone up, we would have a very nice bit of cyclicity to work with there on the 4. The 2 hour, not great either, just a bit wonky. I don't like the way that this is moving at the minute for me to be trading. I'm going to leave that. Ace, very thin, massive spike. Bit of momentum coming through here on ACH. The problem is it's gotten messy up here again. Look at the 4 hour. Higher low, higher high. This pullback here would have been good. It's not there. It's now passed on. Still a lot of big sideways blocks like this. That's a little bit surprising, I suppose. I thought we might see a little bit more movement from the alts. That's why we, I guess, don't make assumptions. So when I've got something like this and it's back in the cradle zone, if it's a green candle right now, it's not going to make the list. It's going to take at least the next 24 hours. The first short, well, not the first because there might be something here now, but for a lot of those, the first short opportunity will come this time tomorrow. If we do get small bearish candles in that cradle zone, the opportunity for shorts will be tomorrow. That's not going to be good enough because of this here. We wrecked the trend with that spike, so I can leave that. Hugely divergent. Excuse me, sorry, I got a frog in my throat. Hugely divergent on Apex. AR straight up, straight down, not worthy. Asta down 6% today. Nothing really to work with here. Oh, hang on, what have we got here? I think this is going to be a bit messy on all time frames, bar the daily. Yeah, so we got this little higher low. It's a little wonky. Daily's got to come back in a bit more. A little bit. It's not great. It's not great. A little bit of divergence there on that daily. It's not something that I'm super stoked about. Sorry, did I look at that? Oh yeah, Atom just creeping sideways, crab walking. Oh gosh. Yogurt stuck in me throat. Yep. Again, low to low, divergent. So AVAX is no good on the daily. As far as the 4 hour goes, look, it looks a little funny, a little wonky. It's pulled back, it's slow pullback with a single sort of sideways to in, moved out, pulled back, moved out again. If we can get a decent move, the next pullback could be workable. Not at the moment though. The 8 hour is not really in the right order and the trend's not very strong. So again, I can leave that. I'll just check the 1 hour. I don't think there'll be anything there, and there isn't. No. something like this on the 16 or the 12. My issue here is my stop would need to be up there, therefore making that not a small candle. The other one is that if I was to be looking to take it, I would be already in. It's also something else to consider. With these massive moves like this, it does look to be a relatively thinly traded market. I don't love it, as you know. This is a very slow roll in. I'm not interested in that as much. It's a single candle pullback, kind of, it's not great. I mean, the pullback's not so much of an issue, to be fair, but it's just not great. Banana, another one that loves its pump. And it loves its subsequent dump, following after the pump. There's nothing for me to work with there on any time frames, really. I can leave that very thinly traded as well. Funny how there's two bananas. I do not understand that, but anyway. So something like band. Oh, it's got that spike there. I was going to say lower high, lower low, but there's a bit of a messiness there. I'm probably not overly anticipating a short there or interested if it even sets up. Looking for something more concrete, as is the case. For me, it's really about taking only the very best. Bat came in there, moved. I was hoping to see it leg out so that the 4 hour would, carry through for an opportunity. Carried through a tiny bit, not enough, and now it's bounced. It's a bit of a messy chart. It is currently divergent, leaving. Let's look at that. Okay, I can get rid of that. Very big ranges on bat at the moment. It's been in a very big, check it out. We're going from, 15 cents to 24 cents. It's a big box that it's stuck in. I don't trade in the boxes. I'm happy to trade a big range, but there's got to be trends within it. Excuse me. I'm looking forward to this candle not being on my charts at all anymore. Still no answers. Still no answers from it. As to what actually went on, we may never know. We may never know. Ooh, banana. Okay. Binance. There's a higher low. There's a higher high. We are convergent. No problem with liquidity here, ladies and gentlemen. The 4 hour does have an uptrend here as well. Okay. That pulls back into this region here, around 870, something like that, back into an old region of resistance. That could be all right. Let me just do a little bit of this too. Let me just see if I get a double. Anything that I can work with here with the old Fibonacci. 61 and 50 in and around. Yeah, something in here would be all right. I'm not going to let that influence me. I'm just going to see what the chart goes. But that's definitely going into the watch list for the 2 hour. Just going to check the daily here. And this is what I talk about when I'm saying, I'm still only looking for one-to-ones. Where Binance is right now at 900 or around 900, it's a perfect place for it to set a bearish candle. It's a perfect place for something like this or this to happen, and then for something like this to happen. Now, whilst I definitely don't have a crystal ball, that's why I'm going for one-to-one. I've got even less of a crystal ball than normal with what's going on out there with sentiment against macro. But we're convergent on this daily. So if I am going to trade Binance long, and I'd like to hope that there's an opportunity that presents itself, it will literally be a one-to-one, and I will give zero care in the world if it runs on to go to $1,500 and I coulda, shoulda, woulda been in it. Nah, don't care. Taking the one-to-ones, banking the profit, and getting out. Brett pulled back in on the 4, bullish candle. Really nice move there. Goodness. Okay. Well, that would explain why it didn't show up anywhere. That was a ripper. So for anyone that's in the UK, US, or those hours, that's a beauty. Great cyclicity. The 2 hours fine too. Clean pullback. Nice move. Clean pullback. That, like I say, one-to-one. That's all I'm after. But a big move and a very strong move. Very nice looking chart. In fact, that will go into my, wouldn't be surprised to see it pull back from here. Bit of resistance right there where we are. I'm going to mark that righty-o. In we go. All right. That's going into the list because if that does pull back, I'm going to be, if it pulls back within the hours of me not being Snoozle Town, then it'll be good. But it's good to see there's still opportunities around, both long and short. Yesterday's dusk. There was Brett there as well. Hopefully today we get something on Banana. C98. This is that, I think this is an index, isn't it? C98. Was it 98, top 98 or something? Unless I'm confusing it with something else. Not enough there for me. Leg out again, then we can talk. High or low, push above, and then we might be on for tomorrow. But we'll wait and see. There's nothing for me right now. Cake, I'm leaving camp. No. I'm not looking to short that. The last pullback was way up here at 26. Yeah, no, I'm not interested in that. I'm looking for something more. Chill guy can leave. Yeah. CRV, yeah, it's not. We do have the higher low, but it needs to run a bit further. The 2 hours is going to be too prolonged in this pullback, so I'm going to be leaving that on all those time frames. If the 4 does want to move itself out a bit further, push through that resistance, a pullback after that could be worthy, but for the time being, it's a no. CVX. That's looking a little better. Clean pullback, nice move. Clean pullback, nice move. Let's look at the 2. That could be all right. Ooh. See, this is the sort of thing I like on the 2. Clean pullback, nice move. But this pullback's, it's gotten a little bit spiky up here. Once again, there's definite resistance right here. Significant resistance too. I do like the motion. I'm going to keep an eye on it. I'm not suggesting there's going to be anything that sets up this realistically. Yes, it's gotten messy in here, but this is the pullback. It is there. The 4 hour, well, it's obviously there too, right? So it's all that's okay. Might not get anything there, but I am willing to have that in the list for the time being to see if anything more can come of it. Dash is up 20% today. Let's see how we're looking here on this 2 hour. Remember that breakout I was talking about way back here at 24 bucks? Didn't that have a run? Oof. Anyway, let's check the 4. Yeah, here's where lies my issue. I was just checking to see if this constituted as a pullback, 2 candle pullback, you know, because if it did, then I could effectively, based on the rules, stalk the 2 for a cradle, and it would be fine. There's a higher low, a higher high. You know, would be well within my means to do so. But because that 4 doesn't have that definition, it's not something that I can, in good faith, be looking for a trade on or waiting for a trade. Deep on the daily looks fantastic until you look at the divergence. Low here, divergent, divergent. Even though it's a beautiful trend, I will not be looking to short that on the daily time frame at this stage because it's got divergence. And you know how we use the MACD to keep us out of trades. Leaving Doge, again, another one where if it does have if we do get a bit of green come in, cool. I'll open the door to it then, but for the time being, it ain't there. Dot is just dog. Boop. What did it get to? Like $54, and it's at $2.34. And to be honest with you, I'm kind of disappointed with Dot. It looks like they've just been giving all their money to influencers and not really getting anything out of it. I haven't heard them do a great deal of anything for quite some time. Okay, so let's come back and have a look at Dusk from yesterday. This was the one this really stood out to me as being probably one of the better charts yesterday. As I said, I did not get an order in. It happened to be, look at the time, boom, 3 o'clock. Well, guess what time that is? That is the time you pick your children up from school. So I wasn't able to. It did get 1-to-1, and it has since reversed. And again, really good example. Very strong trend, downward momentum, good convergence, you know, in a market that has been red for quite some time. 1-to-1 means you bank 1% of profit. Scaling out 1-to-1 means you get out break even. Now you chip away at these 1-to-1s and you get a few under your belt, you start to grow some real momentum. And during periods like this is the way to play this game. It's to alter not the strategy, but it's to alter how you target your, or how you target the trades you're in. Okay, so moving on. No real downtrend. Geez, we've got 15 minutes to go and I'm in the D's. EGLD, another one that's been absolutely, been just, look at that. $7. Anyway, nothing there. Sorry, I've got to keep focused. Yeah, divergent again, so I can't take that on the daily. Short, no definition there in that 4 hour. I can keep going. Esports, that thing's been chipping away quite nicely on thin volume. That's, you know, that is the thing. It is a thinly traded market. I'd love to see ETH leg out here. My goodness, to hold above 3,000, it is a significant number. It is a round number. We are above it. The thing I really want to see ETH break push above is not for the sake of the Ethereum price. I mean, that too, to be honest. But this trend will become really nice. We get a push to something, you know, get us another couple more percent. We have a clear high low, we have a clear high, and then it sets us up to be buying pullbacks. It's not there yet. We'll keep an eye on that. Fartcoin yesterday, I know some of you were looking at this over in this pullback. If you took that, you would have got 1-to-1. I put it in the list. Excuse me. I didn't get anything worthy, so I'll take that out now. I put it in the list after I saw you guys or somebody in the community pop that in there. There's not a huge, like, the alts, there's not a huge, like, if you consider the top 10 and the green within it, there's a lot more green within the top 10 than the rest of the market. You know what? I actually think, here's another one, extend further and then we're good. Here's the thing. The top 10 is kind of your ETF list, right? That's the ones that have the filings in the CFTC and the government, the top 10 has performed better, and we'll see that when we'll go and have a look at the total market cap chart and the others chart. I think it will become quite apparent there. But those two are the ones that kind of got a bit of a beating recently. Ooh, hyper. Okay, so what's that level that I'm got through there? Okay, that's the support. We're back above it. That being said, we are convergent. Now this, let me make this very clear. Before I make it very clear, let me just make it very clear. Yeah, cool. If I get a small bearish candle over the next 24 hours here and I can enter below the low, sorry, if I can enter below this level, that is a short that I would be very interested in. Good fall, clean pullback in, good convergence, 2-day lining up with that as well. On the flip side of that, I've got a very nice high low, or a couple of high lows, and it's pushed higher. For me to be long, for me to be looking at longs, I'd want to see it push a little bit further, but for all of the above, it doesn't have to push a lot further. Then I'm even open on the 2, clean pullback, moving higher. Get us a bit higher, and then I can look to buy hype on the lower time frames. Now, if I get a small bearish candle, so it's two different things, right? Today, if I get a long, I'll take it if this sets up correctly. Tomorrow, if this ends up being a small bearish candle where I would enter below the low, below this support, I would look at a short potential. How can I look at a long and a short? Well, I just explained it by going through and looking at the different time frames. There's a trend on the lower, there's a trend on the higher. Who's going to win? I don't know. Neither of them might win in the immediate future, and there is a possibility that you get long, you make a loss, you get short, you make a loss. But I'm going to trade the trends that are in front of me, and that is a good one. On the downside, anyway, if it can extend a little bit further on the upside, then I'm happy to look for longs as well. Just divergent here, so yes, we got a bearish candle, but I can see quite clearly we are divergent, so I'll go straight past. I don't know if that was in there. Stop would need to be there, so it's a big candle. There's something about looking at this on the daily as well that it looks like, you know, when you hold your arms outside, like out the side of your body, you know, you hold it out. It's not heavy to start off with, but the longer you hold them, the heavier it feels. We're starting to see some divergence coming in here on the daily. It's had a massive recovery from October 10, one of the few that has. I'm just not. I'm not loving it. I'm not. Yeah, it needs to extend itself a bit further for it to really come into the realms for me, the realms of tradability. Let's go to the two here. We might even be going lower. Clean pullback, nice move. The 1 hour is probably going to look pretty good here. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. I want to see that in here though. I want it to come back a bit further. I'm not sure of liquidity there, so as always, if it comes to a trade coming about, check the liquidity, make sure it works. Pump and dump, fairly common at the moment. Can that... Is that, if that, I'm really like, this is a high because we go lower high, lower low high. I'm calling that the lower high. I'd much rather have a bit more clarity than what it's giving at the minute, so I'll leave that too. Link, I was watching this one yesterday as well to see if we could build into a break level. It did not, of course. It pushed straight through, but again, what it has done is it's set by pushing through this resistance a higher high to go with that higher low. Now, if that can run a bit further, I'll buy a pullback. Yeah, I'll take that out for now. If that can push a bit more, it's also, by the way, another one that's in that zone with good convergence that if I get a small bearish candle tomorrow, it might be on for the short side. I don't know what it is with this. Well, I do know what it is. I was going to say that, you know, it baffles me that when somebody turns from bullish, from bullish to bearish, right? So, you know, the same vocal people that were screaming for it to be going higher and higher and higher forever are also the same ones that have flipped now and said, oh, we're not going any further, it was going lower, and that's typically because they've got out or they've been hurt by the market, okay? But I've been sharing quite a bit on social media of the research that I've been doing, the reading, the learning, the looking at the different things, the liquidity, and you know, sharing some of the conversations I've been having with some people that I know around liquidity and whatnot and how it affects the markets and what they think's coming for 2026, and you know, all the stuff that I share in here with you guys each day. You guys get it first, and then certain chunks I share out, you know, on social media. The amount of like, it's really interesting to me. People are suggesting that I'm being irresponsible to share that because of their theories, and it's wild. That because they're bearish, if there's anyone that brings out anything that is kind of well considered, because I don't swing bullish or bearish. I mean, the charts make it very simple for me, but with the charts the way they are, I just went scratching around and going, what's going on here? Because the macro is not in line with the sentiment. So I went and did some digging. And what I found was what I shared, and it's kind of interesting. It's very much like, oh God, I'm actually going to say it, with what I saw in COVID. You know, you had one camp that was going, hang on, I'm not sure about the vaccination, and then there was a group that was like vehemently just no, not doing it, and that's fine. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. But if you're in the camp that was getting the vaccinations, you hated anybody who didn't. Not everybody, obviously, but I'm seeing very similar type of thinking. It's like, hang on, why can't I have my view and be still saying I don't think we've reached the end of the bull market, and I could be wrong. I could totally be wrong. You know, like it's okay. I'm okay to be wrong, but where I stand, and I need to stand somewhere, I'm not in the camp of the market runs over, and I back it up with here is the data that has brought me to that conclusion. Not just trust me, bro. Here's what made me come to that conclusion. And being called irresponsible for share, it's like, it doesn't bother me because I understand what human beings are like. But I haven't really noticed it. You still get your nastiness all the way through a cycle. People are nasty. Oh, trading this and oh, Craig this and oh, you know, there's just nasty people out there. And when you can hide behind being anonymous, you get the worst of humanity, right? That's just part of life. But yeah, it's kind of, I'm seeing, and it seems that as the market creeps higher further, they're becoming more angry, or not, maybe not angry, maybe that's the wrong word, but becoming more indignant. And that's absolutely fine too. Like, I get it. I have to have my conviction in my decisions, and they have to have their conviction. But to be flat out saying it's misleading because I don't say the same thing as someone else, it says more about them than it does about what I'm putting forward. And I'm just starting to see a bit more of that creep in. Maybe the people that are heavily short and really did back themselves, and I respect that completely. If you think the market's going to go lower and you're taking a position in that, then, great. Like that's what I do too. It's what we do. So if you've got conviction, great. But to make it a personal thing, I don't get that part. And it sort of speaks to the fact that if they're getting personal about someone no, I'm not even questioning their thoughts. I'm just putting mine out there. It's not in combat to anybody else's ideas. It's just my analysis. I don't think they're in a good place to do well, because you can't let that sort of stuff get under your skin, It's actually more from Facebook, Dr. Zeus. Yeah, that's what I try and work with, Greenie. It's data and it's difficult to suggest fact, right? When it comes to prediction of something like a market, right? Because I don't, the facts, the only facts, well, actually, no, maybe that's a little bit piss weak for me to say. Again, if Solana can push above higher, I'm happy to buy pullbacks, but for the time being, I'm watching this in the cradle zone. I wouldn't look for a short on Solana, given that there was a slight lower high, but I would be open to longs if we can extend itself through. The facts are December 1, quantitative tightening does end. The facts are we've seen the shift in interest rates to a dropping environment in the US. Now, they didn't drop last month, but they dropped the month before, and it tends to be that, slowly, then all at once. So there are some facts that are there. I will stand by that too. I'm not SPX. My concern here, look at that pullback, beautiful in the cradle. Whooshka, even if I did take that, I was still only taking 101. The definition's easing a little bit. It's been very much a straight line from 53 to 72. And the 1 hour, I'd need that to back. Yeah, I'm going to leave that for now. If it pulls back further, cool. It can come back in later, but for now, no. Yeah, just another one of those observations that I've made of the current period. I know that if Bitcoin heads, if it keeps moving higher, then there will be people that will get very upset, and I totally understand. Like if you're someone who sold it at 85 or at 80, at the lows, then and the market moving higher, it's not necessarily that you've backed yourself and you've got a short position on. It's just that you've sold the bottom potentially because we don't know, right? But that feeling will be that they've sold at a not opportune time, and that is likely where the additional emotion is coming from. This is a beautiful bearish candle in the cradle zone without a beautiful bearish downtrend. I'm not touching that in the 12. It's too far. The daily, call that a lower high. Well, fine. We can call it a lower high if we really want to, but then look at the 2-day. There ain't no lower high there. So that can be left behind as well. 1 minute to go. A little bit of work still to do, but nothing. I don't believe there was anything that was immediately requiring my attention as far as raising orders for now. Oh, hang on. Yeah, maybe the 12, probably too far, too much, higher, low. Yeah, no, that's not sitting pretty enough for this fellow. Hang on, is that USDC? Oh, that's 98 cents. Okay, I was like, hang on, that's USDC. What the heck? 28. Sorry, it's 2 cents, 2%. That's very different. It just looks massive because that chart never changes. It's a bit of a bummer yesterday, actually, on Facebook. I tend to do a couple of posts a week into various different trading groups. And the one that you saw yesterday was, can Bitcoin claim 90,000 this week, or something along, you saw the title, something like that. And of course it did. And all the levels that I was pointing out went through, and we find ourselves where we are today. It would have been Would have been a good one for people to see the analysis and the thought process behind it, but Facebook decided I wasn't allowed to post. I don't know why. It said something about it was blocking me on spam, but I'm like, I haven't posted. Okay, this is looking pretty good. Stellar. I am looking at this being the lower high. Sorry, I'm looking, no, because that's the lower high. Okay, so we're looking at this being the lower high. Little blip there, but this is the pullback, right? Down we go. If that gives me a small bearish candle tomorrow, oof, yeah, I mean, it needs to be, I got to wait till tomorrow, but it's there. It's in the zone. I've seen it with a few other guys that are on Facebook as well, suggesting that Facebook, like, there's an AI within Facebook, obviously, that that sort of makes its own mind up and goes, nah, you've done something. It doesn't make it right or not, but trying to speak to someone at Meta is like trying to speak to someone at Google. It doesn't happen. Massive divergence here. Not shorting that. Not to say it won't go lower. It'll just go lower without me. The 2 days not going to make that very good. No, I can leave that too. Back to the top. All right, let's see what we got. Not a massive list. Old Foggy Foggo. That was left in from before. That was from yesterday. This was also another one. It didn't trigger. Another one that for me was a little bit bigger. I would have preferred the size of the size of the candle to be smaller, but more importantly, up in here. Take that out now. We start. I think we've basically got a list of longs here, and we've got the 2 hour. I'll have a look. Zcash. I will go back and have a look at that GG. Excuse me. Binance, high, low, high, high, pull back into here. Give me a bullish candle. I'll take that. Simple stuff. Brett, same thing. Really good move. It's found some resistance. Will it push through? I don't know. A pull back in this beautiful trend. Very simple. You know what to do. Convex, exactly the same. I'm going to wait and see. There's resistance here. I would prefer it to look like that, but you don't always get what you want. The reality is that's the higher low, and that's the higher high. Okay, cool. Take all that in, wait for a bullish candle, and hope to get one-to-one before resistance. If not, don't take it. Hype. Look, if it pulls back in really slowly and we get a cradle somewhere around 35, I'd be okay. Otherwise, preferably, push a little bit more, then pull back in another long on the 2 hour. Then finally, KMNO on the 1 hour. Not sure of liquidity here, but what I am watching is see if we get a small bullish candle in here. That's my list, and I'm going to go doubling back now to check on Zcash. There it is. Today. I don't think it's going to be because I think we'll see this. But I'll have a look. Yeah, I can see what you're looking at. The issue that we've got is that we've got a higher low, a lower high, and nothing in between. So yes, whilst the bullish candle is in the cradle zone, what we're lacking is the trend, okay? The uptrend is still in play, but it's not really, the uptrend is still in play because the higher lows haven't been broken. The issue is neither has the higher high. So we're sort of in a bit of a state of flux right now for Zcash, in my humble opinion, and that is that. So yeah, cool. Few good options. Be nice to see the market carry on higher today, with a couple of pullbacks. Look, I'd really like to see it step out a bit further. It's not going to do a great deal of harm to any of those charts that we've already got in our list for 2 hour cradles. But what it will do is it could open up things like Ethereum and a few of those others that need that next push higher. And I hope it finds you well. I'll be around today, and I'll be, given that these are low time frames, I'll be having my head in these, keeping an eye on them and hoping that we, well, not hoping, seeing what we get. Have a ripper day, guys. I'll speak to you later. Bye for now.